Hey guys, welcome back to Young Americans Abroad. My name is Austin.
And my name is Patrick.
And guys, welcome to our show.
Yeah, we got AVT and PAT. They talking about young Americans overseas. We got McKinney, Pulisic, Reina, and Des. Got that red, white, and blue. USA on the crest from England, Germany, from Belgium to Spain. Racking up all the medals on the trophy train. Got one thing on their mind. We're scaling some luck. One day we can say we will win the World Cup.
Well, guys, it's great to be back with you this week. And yeah, Pat, it wasn't the best weekend for our Americans abroad. I know we have a few storylines we want to talk about today, but yeah, all in all, just kind of a tough time right now, right?
Yeah, here at the midst of some injuries, right? Seems like the injury plague or bug was going around. But yeah, we've had some solid performances, right? Some goals throughout the leagues. And yeah, goals are what we need, especially with this upcoming window.
Yeah, exactly. And we also have, we've talked last week or 2 weeks ago about a player potentially switching to the US. We got some more rumors this week of another player. So that'll be fun to talk about. A player we're really, super on board with and have talked about a lot on this show. So always love talking about him. So
Oh yeah. And you know what? We're gonna do our 30-second elevator pitches, for these dual nats, and that'll sway them, right? This
they're all
soccer
watching.
community, the YouTube community, we got it all.
Yeah. They watch us every week. So, we have to use our platform to help get them back on, or I should say back on board, truly on board with what we're doing here.
That's right. I love it. But I guess let's talk about a player who, Captain America, right? He's not doing so bad. He's starting off this episode. That's Christian Pulisic, right? So the Hershey native has been killing it, right? Starting regularly for Chelsea since the last window. And that game where you saw him in Minnesota, right? Come on, and
oh yeah,
as a sub, scored the goal, and he's like, "Yeah, don't ever leave me, off the pitch for that long again." But again, him and Chelsea have been back to their winning ways, right, Austin? So this past Saturday, 4-0 win over Burnley. Pulisic loves turf more as well. He just kills it there. So yeah. Through that game, he and Havertz and Mount right up top there, they seem to be getting a consistent groove and having that chemistry. I think Mount has just returned from injury too in the last game or so. But yeah, he nabbed a nice assist, his beautiful assist there too. But his goal was a bit fortunate. But hey, right place, right time, right? Followed the play through, and that's kind of what you need up top. He also seems to have a bit of a knack for that. So yeah, added to the tally there, and yeah, he was very dynamic when he's healthy, when he's full of confidence, like we've come to know and love Austin. His one-on-one, his decision making in the final third, everything is just free flowing. He's not too much in his head as much.
Yeah, and it really looked like in this game he's back to his normal self, right? What we've seen from him in the past at Chelsea and just that free flowing nature, kind of like you were talking about. He's just making decisions on the fly, and really just enjoying, being comfortable on the pitch again. I feel like he goes through these phases where he gets kind of out of his comfort zone, whether that's due to the position he is in his team. And obviously now he's getting consistent playing time again. So I think that has to help. And yeah, it's just good to see him back, right? He looks dynamic again. He's dealt with some injuries throughout this year. So yeah, I'm just happy to have him healthy, right? Knock on wood.
yeah, I'm knocking on wood too, because I'm not going to say any more on the subject, but yes, he's doing well. Staying injury free, and yeah, I mean, you can see obviously Chelsea with a string of wins in the Champions League, they're still doing well. The Prem's just tough, especially with Man City, but they're still, again, comfortable in that Champions League spot there. I think they're in third, right? So I know it's kind of getting close there, after first and second, but yeah, they put themselves in a better spot. They're getting some wins, and then that win against Lille too. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they do. Pulisic loves showing up for big time games in the Champions League, right? We've come to know and love that. So
yeah,
who knows, right? Anything can happen in these knockout stages, and yeah, it's just awesome. He's playing in that preferred position. He's not being moved around all the time, playing outside back, wing back, or whatever that was, right? BS. I'll keep it PG for this episode, Austin. But yeah, I mean, I know we've talked about it too, but I still do think, and I'm going to be adamant about this episode after episode, week after week. I think Chelsea's a really good spot. I know there's some rumors circulating, and maybe you'd love to see him in other spots too. Like, Barca seems like a kind of a fun FIFA dream, if you're playing, FIFA.
Or Real.
Or Real or something, yeah. But I like where he's at. If he can stay healthy, the chemistry that he has, these attacking options they have with Havertz, the interchanging when Havertz and him play together, they seem to have a really good understanding, of who needs to go where. Sometimes that you can see them in the same space, but they seem to figure it out throughout the game. And then obviously Mount just seems to kind of be that epitome of the Chelsea hard worker, kind of connector and rallier on the pitch there. But I like that attacking, I guess, trio per se, and obviously they have some other talent, right, that have been in and out due to injuries, but Pulisic's really played his way back in, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and he's comfortable outside of soccer too, right? Like living in London, he seems to really have taken to that lifestyle, and he also I think that's such a big part of a good situation for a soccer player, right? Is being in a good place off the field and being comfortable in that living environment. And I think at Chelsea, that's, Christian's situation right now. I think he's really, really enjoying life. And I think to be his best version of himself, that's what he needs. And that's where he's at right now. So no need to change it, right? We don't need any left field moves from him. We don't want to see him going anywhere else.
I can agree. And I was just going to quickly add, Austin, I think that's a really good point. Like, even with Dortmund, right? And I feel like he's a type of player, and his mentality, like, if he was in this dip of form, right, let's just say injuries or something kept him out of Chelsea, or just not getting back in the lineup for the rest of the year, and then he were to make a move, I think he's the person that would be so bothered by unfinished business, right, or not heading out strong in an opportunity like the Dortmund transition into Chelsea, right? He gives us all for his play, his team. You see it with club and country. I think that would bother him so much. So I think it would be just a terrible move, just to be so down and then go to another situation, maybe another country or different language, like you said. I mean, that I know that would bother him mentally.
Yeah, that's a good point. And he left Dortmund on a high, right? He left, I think, scoring 3 out of his last 4 games. And really just looked comfortable and confident in his decision. So it's a really good point, Pat. I think now we're going to move on to another player who has a decision to make, and that's Folarin Balogun. So there were some reports this week that Folarin is really strongly considering the U.S. and playing for us going forward over England or even Nigeria, who he also has citizenship with. So I think this is, again, another step in the right direction with our recruitment of him, right? It sounds like our, people within the USMNT program are reaching out to him. And again, it sounds like those talks are progressing and that he's, going to make the move to play for us. And again, I think it's really in his best interest, right, Pat? You see where he's at right now. He's on loan in the Championship to Middlesbrough, on loan from Arsenal, right? We thought maybe he was going to get some time earlier in the fall this season, but it didn't really happen that way. And he hasn't really moved up the ladder in the English national team or the English youth national team. Right. So I think right now he could get minutes with the USMNT just based on playing in the Championship. I think he should be in that conversation of strikers to call up if he did choose to play for us. So I think, again, the opportunity that we can give him over the opportunity that England's giving him with a lot of other strikers above him on the depth chart, I think it's just a really lucrative option for him, right? I think it's a good move. And again, he's a player who's somewhat familiar with some of the players on our team, right? Grew up playing with Yunus Musa in the Arsenal Academy for a few years. Also had some time playing with the US U18s in a tournament over in, I think, the Czech Republic, the Vlakov Jesic tournament, and played with a lot of the players that are currently making up our USMNT senior roster. So, I think this is a home run move for him. I think it's, again, a team that he's going to come into and be comfortable within based on just the youth that we have right now on the team. And I think from our point of view, I think he's just a really good talent, right? He's an all-around striker, someone who's not afraid to even pop out wide and kind of, take players on one-on-one outside, and just use his athleticism to kind of get on the ball in certain different areas of the pitch. But he's also a finisher as well. I think you asked me before we started filming, Pat, like, is he more of a poacher or kind of, an all-around player? And I think he's got a lot of qualities of a poacher, right? He really likes taking shots in front of goal. We've seen him at the youth level for Arsenal score a handful of goals each game in the under 23 side. But I think at the heart of it, I think he's athletic enough to be that dynamic striker, right? That striker that can kind of combine with the midfield, but also be deadly in front of goal and be that poacher. So I think for all those reasons, I think this is a home run move in recruiting him to play for us.
Yeah, no, I well said. I couldn't have said any better, Austin. I mean, in terms of, club situation, right? It just seemed like the Arsenal 23 situation, right? He's doing so well, but just plateauing, kind of that big fish in a small pond per se. And this move is coming at a really good time, in his career and his development. He's playing right in Middlesbrough. I didn't even realize they still have a game to play, but if they win, it would be up in fourth or third in the championship, which is
it's a good team this year.
A good team. Yeah, it's no middle bottom championship team. This is a team that we know has been in the Prem and has those aspirations. So I think it's just great that he's playing at a high level here, right, with the first teams, getting the experience, and like you said, the type of, I guess, how adaptive he is, or his dynamism with the USMNT, that perspective. It would just be amazing. I'm just picturing it now, envisioning it now. His combination play with maybe like a team overlapping, or just, kind of, laying off there, connecting with Pulisic and others there in the attack. I mean, it would be pretty fun. And just, I guess, thinking for how we've built the team and how young and kind of the culture, again, I think that Berhalter and just the group has done a really good job in general. I mean, we have these pockets, right, of Americans, right, some MLS folks, some Americans that have really adapted to life in abroad, right? And then, pockets of, Musa, you have Anthony Robinson that we brought over, right? That it's just such a, I guess, again, I don't want to get all patriotic USA, but that's the great thing I think about our country, right? And just you have all these kind of melting pots of cultures and kind of the styles of football and the connectivity that you can kind of bring together. He would fit in so well, with this group and this team. And I think just meshing all that together, as we're seeing Musa, Anthony, him, and just the other group, right, from the, Tillman, other players you brought up potentially, right, that it's just really exciting. And I think it's a pretty easy sell from a recruiting perspective, the direction, we're going as a country, for him to join us.
Yeah, and you've seen all the success Yunus Musa has had with us so far. Obviously, again, it's a small sample size, right? And I feel like we've had some success, but there's a lot more to be obtained. But again, I feel like it's also carried into his club career, right? Like, now there's a lot more eyes on him at Valencia. Again, we're saying that from an American perspective, but I do feel that him playing for us and choosing us has given him like more eyesight, right? Like, just more fanfare, more buzz, right? Now he's an American playing in La Liga, one of very few, right? I think 2 total with
World
Matt
Cup
Hoppe.
qualifiers, Gold Cup finals,
3, I guess.
The big finals, big game against Mexico. Like, that's a lot of exposure.
Yeah. And again, I think it just gives him that confidence going back to Valencia, right? Like, he's playing on the national team as part of, a whole, right? Like, I feel like, again, we're playing for something instead of him playing in a youth team, right? With England. I feel like, we're trying to accomplish something here in America with our, men's soccer program. And again, I feel like he's really bought into that in his short time with us. And that's, again, helped him in his career. And I think that the same can be said with Folarin Balogun too. I think he, you nailed it right on the head, Pat. I think he's in the same spot in his career. Again, I think his skill set fits what we're trying to do. And I think the way we're going to play going forward, whether Greg Berhalter stays on after the World Cup, whether or not, we make a switch, right? But he has that fit for what we're looking for, right? He's someone who does work hard. He's someone who has that athleticism and really just kind of kind of fits in with what we're doing. Yeah, so I just think
player. Yeah, like he just wants to go forward, right, and challenge one-on-one. We're not looking for back passes inside. He goes for it, man.
Yeah, I was trying to think of the one thing I wanted to say when you were on camera and I was off camera.
Yeah.
There's one point I was going to make, and I kept forgetting it. But yeah, the one thing I've seen throughout his career so far, right? I've watched a lot of highlights of him. I watched even some full games, things like that, and he's just a very dedicated player. He's someone who's very determined, very determined to get better too. So I just think maybe his career hasn't gone exactly the way we were hoping it went. A few years ago, we thought maybe he'd be breaking into that Arsenal first team and being similar to like a Bukayo Saka level prospect in terms of just the quality he showed at a young age. But even though that hasn't really panned out, it hasn't really panned out that way. I think he's just been working and again, trying to prove himself in each opportunity he's been given, right? Like earlier this year at the U23 level, he was scoring goals at will. He's gone to this Middlesbrough team and they're a really good team, right? And he's not getting on the pitch probably as much as he'd want to, but I think in the minutes he's been on the pitch this year, he's provided an impact and again has learned in the game time he's gotten. So that's kind of the other quality of him that really excites me. And again, I feel like it's really easy for a young player, again, who hasn't right at Arsenal, like there was a lot of reports about him, not renewing his contract with them and wanting to go elsewhere. We saw that with like Owen Adesawe is a great example, right?
Oh, yeah.
He went to Club Bruges and is really like, well, screw Wolves. I'm not going to re-sign with them. They're not giving me as much playing time as I want. And now he's not even in, that team there. And it sounds like he's got some issues that he's dealing with as well. So I feel like for a young player to have his head on his shoulders the way it seems like he does, and just committing to the process, committing to grinding and getting better each day, that's what it's really exciting to me, I would say.
Yeah, so I couldn't agree more. And I think that's a perfect way to kind of transition right to another player, right, who's scored, right, needs to be called in and chose us, and that's Pefok here, Jordan Pefok. So highlighting his weekend, he scored his 16th goal of the Swiss Super League season with his 8-minute header. Put Young Boys ahead 1-0 against the bottom of the league team, loser in there. I think they eventually, were down 2-0. Young Boys scored again before they were able to draw level 2-2 and get a point out of that. So Young Boys has conceded a lot of late equalizers, unfortunately. A lot of, losing goals, I guess, and towards the end, and that's the reason why their reign of Swiss champs is coming to an end here. Zurich leading by 15 points, which is a pretty big difference there, from first to second or, what have you there. So just back to Pefok, right? You saw on that goal, and just through the highlights in some of the game I was watching, again, like we've come to know, he's not going to be involved in the build-ups and, all these 1-2 combinations all the time. And that's just not who he is, right? He's that true poacher and finisher, and that's exactly what he did in this goal. I mean, it was a fantastic finish, but, as soon as they spring counters, Young Boys, they drive up the flanks and they ping balls in pretty early and quick because they know Pefok or somebody's going to get out to the end of them. So he's definitely, again, not involved in the build-up in some of those aspects, but final third, corner set pieces, counters, quick changes of play. Once it gets into that 6-yard box area or just outside, he's always there, and that's what they're looking for. So it's a perfect system for him, and he did the work, right? And he's really killing in the Swiss League. That's what we've been saying week in and week out. So Berhalter, if you're watching this, this goes live, you got to call him up, man, for this last window.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like we say this every week, right? He's in form. He's playing well, and we are having a lot of injuries right now. So we need players who are confident in their abilities going into a tough final round of games. So yeah, Greg, if you're watching, call up Pefok, please. Please call up Pefok. Yeah, I agree with you, Pat. I think as we go into the summer and the transfer rumors start swirling, I don't think it's time for Pefok to move. I really think he should stay at Young Boys and stay in this familiar environment, comfortable environment, and continue to grow his goal scoring rep.
Yeah, I couldn't agree. I know we've had some discussions in the last few weeks and stuff with Pefok and potential moves and how to grow, right? But again, I think you're looking at it's a decent league, right? In Europe, you're playing in Europa, Champions League qualifying, that type of area, right? You're getting that exposure and experience, and like you said, he's top goal scorer of the league. He's really just in a great situation, and for a player like him to be in the right fit, his midfielders and other attackers trust him, right? They're going to put the ball in the back of the net. He's going to get chances. Maybe not as much as some that are, or as many touches, I should say, as some of these modern strikers, right, that we see kind of playing more in the midfield, coming back. But he really is efficient, and that's what they need. So clearly they need some improvements on the defensive end, right, to help prevent some of these late equalizers. But from an attacking perspective, I think Young Boys is the place for Jordan. And again, I think what we've been saying week in and week out, and I won't harp too much on this, but in the Mexico or other situations, right, and we're struggling for goals, and maybe like we've seen, right, some issues in the first half, and then the second half as a national team we're able to score. I mean, 65, 70th minute, when some defenders and backlines are tired and we need to ping some balls in there, why not throw him on? He just proven over 16, 17 plus times in all competitions in Europe that he can do it. So, and you've seen it, right, sometimes a little bit with the US. So I don't think it's a problem at all. And he definitely should be part of this group here, and probably a late impact sub. That would be, if we need a goal, that would be probably my one or two, right off the bench there.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want to harp on it too much longer. Yeah. So I think, with our final topic for today, we're going to talk about Jesse Marsch and his debut with Leeds. So obviously last week we talked about him actually getting the job and what we were expecting with that move. And now this weekend, we actually were able to see him in his first game. And I think, Pat, overall, I would rate, the whole performance of Leeds on the day, and with the result included, I would say as a, I don't know, C+, B-, right? Like, it was good, but it wasn't obviously what exactly we wanted to see, or it wasn't the dream start, I would say, Jesse Marsch, wanted. But at the end of the day, I think there's a lot of positives to pull from the team performance. So to set it up a little bit, Leeds played Leicester City this weekend. Again, this run of games started about 5 or so games where they're playing kind of bottom half of the table teams. Obviously, Leicester, I think, was in 10th going into this game. So maybe that's a little unfair on them saying that, but it's definitely
us, and this is it.
Yeah, this is kind of the time of Leeds season to really, gain points and really, Jesse needed to get things right from the start, and again continues to need to pick up points here right from the start. And Leicester again was not a bad way to start off his run at Leeds. So I really liked the energy that they came out with in this game from the start. I think obviously looking at the last few games they played, right, they lost to Liverpool 6-0, they lost to Tottenham 4-0. They really need to come out, be strong defensively, but also not be afraid to attack and take the ball up the field and kind of make things difficult for Leicester City and really challenge their back line. And I thought they did a really good job of that in the first half. I would really say that they controlled the flow of the game in the first half. I know Leicester had some good opportunities themselves and had some really strong play from their wingers. Harvey Barnes was really a menace all game, and some of their other attackers too did a really good job in this game. But Leeds was dangerous in their own right. When you look at this game as a whole, the expected goals was 1.97 for Leeds and 0.34 for Leicester. And Leicester scored, in the second half midway through. So, it's a little unfair to see them.
Classic Leicester.
Classic Leicester. Yeah. Right. How else, would they go about this game, but winning on a goal where they, weren't really expected to score. Right. So, it just was kind of a gut punch when they scored, right? We were all kind of, watching, hoping that at the very least this game would be a draw and Jesse could get a point out of it and try and turn this team around that way. When they, scored the goal, it was almost like, well, all right, now it's time to press. And then, Tyler Roberts came on. I think he was Jesse's final sub of the game. And within, I think, literally a minute, 2 minutes, he went down injured. And it turns out now that he actually had a torn hamstring. So he soldiered on, I think, for another 10 to 15 minutes. And, Leeds got some good chances towards the end of the game, right? They really put Leicester under pressure, even with essentially 10 men. And unfortunately, they weren't able to get that, that game-tying goal. But all in all, Pat, I think this was a good start to the Jesse Marsch era for Leeds. And, I think, again, it wasn't the result they needed. And, again, this needs to be about results in the short term. But I think all in all, not a bad way to start off the Jesse Marsch era at Leeds.
No, and I think, again, I have my pen out here, my teaching mindset on for your grading. I would almost say an 80, but I'm going to give it a 79, a C+, just because, again, in the situation that Leeds needs the points. But I think you can take some positives away, and that's what Marsch obviously did and what he's going to publicly say, right? Take some positives as well as with the team, right? You're not going to come in game one and be like, oh, okay, well, we didn't get the results, And I think, it's definitely a pivotal time, right? Like you said, I'm not going to piggyback too much on it, but the string of games, they need results. I mean, if they can't get, at least some wins and draws the next 3 or 4 games, they're in some serious problems as they play City and Arsenal and some of these other teams, right, that are fighting for Champions League and the Premier League. So I think, all in all, I feel decent. Not like he's out of his depth, right? With that Bradley and Swansea feeling, to be honest, not to compare it to that, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, you saw some comical, and Jesse kind of laughed it out, right? Ted Lasso comparisons there.
Yeah,
it's completely unnecessary, but I it's funny. It's a funny show, so I can understand it too at the same time. But aside from that, I think, it wasn't a bad start, and I think you can take some positives from the energy, the effort, like you said, the expected goals. I mean, they had some. If you watch this game, I don't know how they didn't draw or win. Honestly, they had the chances there.
That Rafinha shot, oh my goodness,
they missed some brutal chances. And I mean, I think like Jesse said in his interview, like if they play that way and obviously finish right, there's no reason they can't win. A few of these games and stay above. So. Yeah, I mean, Norwich, Watford, these are teams struggling. They're going to be fights, and I think Jesse will have them ready to go. I mean, if you have a player that tore his hamstring or whatever, right, and carried on for a bit, I mean, that just shows the passion he has, right, and the club has for staying up.
Yeah, and I really think that's my biggest takeaway from this game is how much they fought in this game, right? And it's easy to do that in game one of a new manager. A lot of pressure on these players to perform right now, and I'm sure some of them felt a little upset that, Coach Bielsa left the way he did, right? So I think it's easy to see that in this first game. I'm going to be curious to see how that carries over into the next few games, but I think it was positive. And I think I hadn't watched much of Leeds, so I will be honest with that, like going into this game. But it definitely looks like, the offensive players they have, right? Like Daniel James, Rafinha looks like a phenomenal player and prospect.
Oh, yeah.
They have a lot of good ideas going forward. It just seems like they're a little bit out of sync. I guess that's the best way to say it. There's, it seemed like they'd string together like 3 or 4 passes and really get into a dangerous area. But then when that final opportunity showed up to either cross the ball into the box or, just make another pass up the field, a player would hold on to it for just a little bit too long or second think themselves. So it'll be just kind of curious to see how they gel a little bit closer together. And again, we got to talk about, some players coming back, right? Patrick Bamford was on the bench. Sounds like he's almost ready to get back into the swing of things and be available for, full games. Calvin Phillips is also coming back. We talked about Liam Cooper last time in defense. So some really important players for this team are right around the corner of coming back. And I think that'll give this team another boost, which is, again, really well needed at the right time of the season, right, against some of the weaker teams that they're playing. So, it's up to Jesse again to kind of control the narrative of this team and really just impart himself on them. And I back him, right? Like, obviously it's easy to say that as an American, but I really do think he's a good motivator and someone that can rally the troops, so to speak. And speaking of rallying the troops, at the end of this game, he kind of pulled everyone together. You could see that he was making that concerted effort to really make this a meaningful moment as kind of, the first experience as a team. And I thought that, that shows that, that team building that he's trying to do is going well, in my opinion. I think, it's good to see that.
Yeah, I think that was unique, right? I mean, and pretty rare, but yeah, I mean, that's important. And this is just, he's had some experience, right? In Europe and the good and the bad situations, right? With Salzburg, Leipzig. And this is such an intriguing, right? Spotlight's on him, in his managerial career, how he does here. If he's able to keep Leeds up, which again, I feel very confident that he can, I think it'll just be a huge kind of, I can't even think of the right phrase, right? But for kind of the following season, right? If they can keep up and stay in the Premier League, he gets some of the signings there, really builds the team there, the chemistry over with preseason, things like that, and stay in the Premier League. I think they're going to have a decent amount of success. I think he has the right ideas, the vision there, with the culture, the passion, and he's a smart guy, being able to connect with his players, the tactical side, but also again, like just the human side and understanding, how to manage relationships and things like that. He offers a lot. And again, I don't want to be too much on this, but I'd love to see him as our national team coach one day.
Yeah, it would be great to see that. I'm not going to lie. I think that's kind of what I was alluding to with the Folarin Balogun segment, saying that he kind of fits hopefully what our play style will be in the future, which is, total football and kind of running all around the field and pressing people. But yeah, one day we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think that's all for our main part of our episode today. Now let's head over to Quick Kicks.
All right. Yeah. Fans, all you viewers, I think you know what time it is. It's my favorite time of the show, and I know it's yours. It's none other than Quick Kicks.
Well, guys, to start off Quick Kicks today, we have Weston McKennie, who unfortunately the news came out this week that he will not be returning to Juventus due to his foot injury. So he's going to be out the rest of the season, and was actually seen at the LAFC game, chilling it out with some of the celebrities there, right, Pat? So, tough news, but, hopefully he gets better and comes back stronger than ever.
Yeah, it's kind of cool seeing with Will Ferrell, but yeah, it's nice to connect with other national team members, and hopefully he's recovering well, and we'll see him back shortly. But heading over to Spain with Serginho Dest, he actually subbed on in the 85th minute in Barcelona's 2-1 win.
And going over to Austria, we have Brendan Aronson. So Brendan midweek started and played 90 minutes in Salzburg's 0-0 draw with Lask. And then over the weekend, Brendan subbed on and played the final 29 minutes for Salzburg in their 4-0 win over Altach.
Nice. And Yunus Musa got another start in 73 minutes in Valencia's 3-1 home win over Granada.
Nice. And going over to Germany, we have Joe Scally, who started and played 90 minutes for Gladbach. Unfortunately, that was in a 3-2 loss to Stuttgart.
Tough. That's tough.
Pellegrino Matarazzo.
Yeah, that's right. Matarazzo. Got to watch out for him. But heading over to the Netherlands, Luca de la Torre there. He got the start for Hercules in a tough 3-1 loss to PSV.
Nice. And going over to England, we have Josh Sargent, who subbed on at half midweek and actually picked up an assist for Norwich in their 2-1 loss in the FA Cup to Liverpool.
He keeps doing assists against Liverpool, man.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then over the weekend, started and played 90 minutes for Norwich in their 3-1 loss to Brentford. So Norwich struggle bus continues to keep on struggling.
Not looking good. Not looking good. But CCV, another start, another 90 minutes, another win. A 3-1 win against Livingston.
Nice. And going over to Spain, We have Jonathan Gomez, who played 86 minutes in Real Sociedad B's 2-1 win. And also some cool news, he made the bench for the first team this weekend in their game against Mallorca. So keep your eye out for Jonathan. He's definitely coming on strong. And yeah, it's going to be a tight race to, seal him either, for us or for Mexico. So yeah, hoping he chooses us.
Yeah, I'm hoping too. He's a talent, Austin. He's pretty impressive. But heading over to France with a center back who's been quietly killing it, right? Eric Palmer Brown, Troyes there, started again and won 2-0 against Bordeaux in Ligue 1. So EPB guys, we get watching some of his games. He's been killing it.
Yeah, and going over to Italy, we want to talk about Tanner Tessman, who subbed on and played the final 15 minutes for Venezia in their 4-1 loss to Sassuolo.
And Reggie Cannon, Boavista there, started and played 90 and a 1-1 draw against Brazier.
And going over to Belgium for our final player of the day, and that's Brian Reynolds, who started and played 90 minutes for Kortrijk in their 3-2 loss. And that's it for our episode today, guys. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel down below.
Don't forget, Instagram, Twitter, social media content for all you YAA viewers. We got to keep up with all these moves, right? And goals and assists. And, our boys killing it overseas and throughout all the different leagues.
That's right. And we've got a merch store, so check that out down below. Got some cool designs there. And we also have our episodes available in podcast form. So check out, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, check that place out for us. Give us a review. We love your feedback. And Pat, it's getting down to crunch time, right? We're getting close to the final round of World Cup qualifying. We're not in the best shape health-wise, but hey, we've got a lot of players playing overseas who can really help us, get to our ultimate goal, right?
Yeah, that ultimate goal, Austin. I mean, you can kind of feel it, right? I can see that storm on the horizon, getting excited, getting antsy, waiting for it, anticipating. The anticipation's killing me, killing us, right? As fans of the USMNT. But yeah, with Captain America coming on strong, Pefok putting in goals, I feel pretty confident, Austin. And I think one day I'll send it back to you for this, but one day we have a good shot at this.
That's right. And one day we will qualify again for the World Cup and then win it. So one day we'll win the World Cup.